the Royal Daily Tea YouTube channel. Please be advised all of my videos are for entertainment purposes only, based 100% on my own opinion, my own theories, and my own research. All of my information can be found on the public domain and falls under the fair use guidelines. Please feel free to do your own research. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Royal Daily Tea. So a lot of people are questioning what is going on. Is Charles trying to cut Archie off and deny him of his birthright and his title? The answer to that is yes and no. Back in March, when the Sussexes appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show, you can tell they were a little bitter, and they mentioned that due to a change in royal protocol, Archie would no longer be a prince. Therefore, he would not be entitled to the security nor the money that he would receive as part of the sovereign grant. Why is that? Well, they said it was because of racism, because Archie was half black, half white, he was biracial, and that is why they don't want to give him a princely title. Well, that's not true. As we all know, for many, many years, Charles, who was going to take over as king upon the death of his mother, has been trying to streamline and cut down the number of senior royals for many, many years. Back in 2011, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie were cut off from the sovereign grant, and they were no longer receiving security. They have no paid security, and they no longer receive money from the state. Their father, Prince Andrew, took from his personal money and is paying for their lifestyle and for their security. So this was back in 2011. They've had it gone for the past 10 years. If you've noticed, most of the major events with the balcony, you see fewer and fewer members of the royal family actually on the balcony. Charles has been doing this for the past 10 years because it costs the taxpayers a lot of money, and people are getting tired of paying for these royals to live these lavish lifestyles. They have many, many palaces, summer homes, travel, security, food. All of that costs the taxpayers a ton of money. I think they said it cost over $1 million a year for security for the royal family. That's a lot of money for taxpayers to pay. And the more and more royals you have, the more and more expenses you have. You know, people love the royal family. The British monarchy is one of the longest withstanding royals in history. A lot of the European royals are no longer. A lot of them were exiled or they were just cut off. So the British monarchy is one of the very few remaining royal houses and is one of the longest running royal houses. And there is a reason for that, because they know how to change with the times. It all started back in 1917 when King George V realized they needed to make some important changes to the royal family. During that time, there was a lot of upheaval in Europe. A lot of the royals were being exiled, they were being murdered, they were being taken over. There was a lot of revolutions happening. You have to remember, during this time, there was a major class system where there was very, very rich elite people and there was very, very poor people. If you ever watch a lot of period pieces, you watch Downton Abbey, you will see these huge houses, the class system, where people were given special treatment for being royal and for titles, and some of these people who were poor lived in horrible conditions. Now, a lot of people were getting sick of the rich elite, and there was a lot of revolutions happening. One of the biggest revolutions that happened during that time was when Tsar Nicholas and his family, his wife, his 5 daughters, Princess Anastasia, they were taken over and murdered. This was around 1918. So King George is seeing, oh my God, they're killing royals, they're taking over. We need to downsize, and we need to downsize fast. So what he did was he realized a lot of the actual British royal family came from German descendants. And during this time, people were becoming very anti-German. And the British royal family were direct descendants from Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, who were German. And they were from the House of Hanover and Saxon and Gutberg. So a lot of people, like our royals, are made up of Germans, basically, and they're running, the Commonwealth. So he decided that he needed to quit and get rid of some of these cousins and these earls and counts and prince and princesses. There was just a huge royal family. So what he did was he made a new decree in 1917 where he would have it where the monarch's children, and the grandchildren would be born into his and her royal highness or prince or princess title, but the great-grandchildren were too far removed from the sovereign and they would not inherit titles. The only people who really were supposed to inherit titles were from the firstborn of the Prince of Wales in the male line. So that would be Prince Charles, Prince William, and Prince George, and Prince George's oldest son would automatically inherit titles. Technically, the Cambridge's children, Prince Louis and Princess Charlotte, technically would not have had titles, but the Queen stepped in and made a special decree in 2012 and gave Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis a title. So now that Archie is the great-grandchild of the Queen, automatically when he was born, along with Princess Eugenia's kid and Princess Beatrice's kid, and Zara's kid, none of them have titles because that is according to the 1917 rule by King George V. Now, technically, when Charles would become king, Prince Harry's children would become prince or princess because their grandfather is now the king. However, Prince Charles is trying to step it where only the oldest child of the Prince of Wales, which would be William, will get a title, meaning all of the Cambridge's children. But Harry, being sixth in line, his children technically should not get titles because now they're going to 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th in line. And when Prince George and Louis and Charlotte all have children, Prince Harry and Archie and Lily are going to be pushed down to like 10th place. So technically they don't need HRH titles because if they have that title, they are entitled to security. They're entitled to money from the state. And the taxpayers aren't going to want to keep paying for all of these people's lifestyles. And that is why he threw such a stink on the Oprah Winfrey show, talking about how I was cut off. I was born a prince. I was born into this privilege. I was born into this life. And he's cutting me off because of a change in status. He was very angry because he felt, I'm a prince. I am born into this. You can't take this away from me. Even if I'm not a working, royal, I can still move to America and have the taxpayers pay for my security and pay for my lifestyle. That's because he's entitled and he felt that's his birthright and he deserves to have that. Well, Charles let him know, if you're going to walk away as a working royal, we're not going to pay for it. We're not paying for your security and you're not going to get money from the sovereign grant. However, Charles did pay for his security and his lifestyle for the first year out of his own personal money from the Duchy of Cornwall, which of course Harry didn't mention to anyone, but Charles actually supported them for a year. He didn't have to, but he did. So that is why Harry is so butthurt right now and so angry, because technically, yes, he is being denied his birthright, but at the same time, we're not in the 1800s. You literally have a $20 million deal with Netflix, you've got another $20 million with Spotify, and you received almost $30 million in inheritance from your mother and grandmother. Therefore, you're not exactly poor and don't need to have the British taxpayers pay for your lifestyle. So that is why he received a lot of backlash from people, when he was complaining about his birthright being denied and how they're denying Archie the title. They're not denying your son a title. They're simply streamlining the monarchy, and none of the grandchildren are receiving titles. None of the great-grandchildren are receiving titles. So I feel that Harry is just entitled. He's grown up with people wiping his butt with dollar bills, and he has no clue what it's like to be an average person. Again, he's grown up with people calling him Your Royal Highness his whole life and bowing to him. That's why Harry needs to get off his high horse and realize you're just Harry. You're an average citizen. You need to drop the Duke titles. You're in America. We don't have class systems here. You're not better than anyone else. So get rid of your damn titles already. We're sick of them. Honestly, it looks a little silly. We don't walk around in tiaras to go to Target. You know what I mean? So why are you walking around with your Duke title? You're just Harry. You're not anything special here. You're you're a dime a dozen. So I think Harry's having a hard time adjusting to civilian life, and for people being able to speak their piece and voice their opinion when he famously was like, what's that First Amendment? That's bonkers. He doesn't like people speaking out against him. He doesn't like the fact that he doesn't get his princely ways here in America. Well, honey, I'm sorry to tell you, we don't have titles here. So you're just like the rest of us. I guess you and your son Archie are just going to have to deal with it. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I love hearing from you. I appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by the channel. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I'm trying to get to 10,000 followers. When we get to 10,000 followers, we're going to do a huge giveaway. Thank you and have an awesome day.